This is the story of how a hobby I started in my basement blew up into this business. I never actually thought I would end up here, like having a business like this. It wasn't my goal originally. I never thought in a million years, for example, that I would own a forklift. Literally not a single day in my life did I think, someday I will own a forklift. No, that just happened out of necessity. And I never thought I'd own a warehouse either. It's not the prettiest building in the world, but it gets the job done. And I own a warehouse. It's pretty awesome. Not a lot of people can say that. This actually all just started out as a hobby. I was just having fun. The first product I ever made was a copper still kit. And that came about because I just wanted to build my own copper still.
Hi, I'm Kyle Brown with Clawhammer Supply. Thank you very much for purchasing a still kit from us. In this video, we are going to show you how to assemble this 5-gallon still here.
The smallest piece of copper I could find was 3 feet by 10 feet. And based on the design that I had made, that was enough to build 3 stills. I was also broke at the time. I didn't really have the money to be doing this project, but it was like really fun sounding and I wanted to do it anyway. So my thought was, well, if I buy this sheet of copper and I make 3 stills instead of 1, and I sell 2 stills, then I'll have the still I want and I will have gotten it for free. And that's what I did. And then I used the still, and to be quite honest, it wasn't super fun for me personally. I didn't have as much fun using the still as I had building the 3 stills. So I was like, you know what I really want to do is build more stills. So I bought some more copper. I had a little bit of money left over from the first 2 that I'd sold, and built some more stills, and I was just selling them on eBay. And that's just kind of how it started. I was probably making, I'm not kidding, and this is a literal figure, about $1 or $2 per hour, you know, based on the time I had and the money I was getting out of it, because copper is expensive, it takes a long time to build them, and I wasn't selling them for a whole lot. But it wasn't a business for me, it was just fun. I really enjoyed the process of building the stills.
After you have everything coated with flux, get your torch out, heat the copper up, and start soldering.
It wasn't until a buddy of mine came over, he wanted to see the process of these stills I was building, and he goes, so like, what's your plan for scaling this? I said, what do you mean scaling it? He goes, you know, like, how are you gonna build more if you get a bunch of orders and, you know, make it more profitable? And I said, I'm not gonna do that because that's not the point of what I'm doing. I just really like building the stills. He said, you know, you have like a business here. And I said, no, I don't think so. It's not like really a business for me. He goes, yeah, but you realize it could be if you did that. Then you could do this full time. Long story short, it would have been very difficult for me to figure out how to build completely built stills and turn that into like a product and a viable business, especially the way I was doing it. The idea that he proposed actually was, hey, what if you just sold the parts to people instead of the completely built still? And I was like, nah, nobody would want to buy just still parts and build it themselves. And he said, but you did it, right? And I said, yeah. And he said, you really liked it, right? And I said, oh yeah, I loved it. It's really fun. He goes, well, you should make these and sell them to people and show them how to do it. And I was like, all right, I guess I could give it a shot. And reluctantly, I did. And now, you know, almost 15 years later, here we are.
All right, after your cap is riveted together, you're going to want to install the cap plate, and this can be a bit tricky.
So anyway, it all started with a single sheet of copper, and this is like the snowball story of all snowball stories. Things just snowballed. Is that a good line? I used to spend every waking hour doing this when I was first getting started because I didn't have a lot of help still. Just making parts, packing parts, shipping parts, tape, lots of tape. I originally built the first couple of stills in the basement of the house I was living in. It just had stones and dirt on the floor. And then I just rented somebody's garage, which you would think was a step up, but it really wasn't. That place looked like a literal dungeon. It was a really old house and just like a bunch of raw stone and everything, and it was freezing cold.
All right, after you have the cap all soldered together, you're going to need to install the column.
The early days were exciting, but they were definitely not always fun. I originally put some content up on the web, like some videos, and blog articles were really big at that time. And for the most part, they went unnoticed, but at one point they actually started to get some traction. At one point I got a bunch of orders. Only problem was I had a day job at that point and I was on my way out of town to go give some seminar at a conference or something like that. So I was gonna be in a hotel for the next week. I literally packed my car full of all the supplies I would need to build still kits, and I did it on the floor of my hotel room. Problem is, like, some of that required power tools and it wasn't a good idea to operate those inside. I bought a pop-up tent. I went to Home Depot and I put the pop-up tent up in the parking lot of Home Depot in the rain. Actually, this is why I had the pop-up tent. And I banged out the orders. There have been so many times where I thought, man, how am I gonna do this? And that was one of them, but I made it.
And we're done.
In the beginning, every single product I literally made by hand, personally. I would box it, I would ship it. Before that, I built the website by myself. I did all the marketing myself. I answered every phone call, I answered every email. I almost lost my mind. And it really just kept getting worse. At one point, one of the early videos I did went viral, and then that's just when all hell broke loose. I had a month where I just sold like $30,000 of stuff in a single month. Working through the orders over those 30 days, like, literally almost broke me doing it the way I was doing. Orders have been like crazy the last couple days. I'd actually hired a guy from the checkout line of a grocery store. So I had an employee and we were in a nicer garage, but we were still in a garage and we were still doing things by hand. All of our parts were cut on a water jet and we didn't have any way to dry them. So I was literally laying them out in the sun. Then at one point I started drying them in my actual kitchen oven, and we were doing really dumb stuff like dropping our stuff off to UPS instead of having them come pick up from us. Once a week we would pack all of the orders into my employee's conversion van, which I kid you not, he was living in at the time, and we'd drive the orders down to UPS. One of the most like crushing aspects of starting a business is, especially if you're ramping up, almost every dollar that comes in when you're growing goes right back out the door to buy more product to meet whatever sales demands over the next peak. So I remember at one point I was buying boxes from Home Depot, and I realized, well, I could buy them from like a shipping supply company and they'll come on a truck and I'll save a lot of money, but I have to buy like an entire pallet load. I had like no money at that point before things took off, like I was still pretty broke. And I remember I bought $600 of cardboard boxes, and that to me almost like caused my brain to malfunction completely, because I was so broke at that point. It was just like, how do I have money now? But now I've literally like put it all in cardboard boxes that are just sitting on the floor of my garage. The next month, I literally did $60,000 in sales. So I 10x'd, and then I doubled, and then I kid you not, we doubled again from there over the course of like 3 months. Mind you, I had a personal credit card with a $10,000 limit. So I would buy $10,000 of stuff, pay it off, the next day I'd buy another $10,000 of stuff, pay it off, and I wasn't just ordering stuff, like I was driving to here and there and everywhere trying to source the parts and pieces we need for this stuff. It was just insanity. After the 3rd or 4th month of that, I'm safe to quit my job and try to make this thing work full time. So I went into work one day and I said, hey, listen, I'm so sorry, I hate to do this to you guys, but I've been doing this like moonshine still thing on the side, and it just went ballistic over the last few months. I can't work for you anymore, I have to quit. And I don't know what to say other than I'm just sorry. And I had a really nice job in Boulder at that point. I was working as a consultant. They had moved me out. They had paid for me to move to Boulder, Colorado from North Carolina 11 months earlier. And you know what? They were actually really cool. We're still friends today. If you've ever watched any of our essential oils videos, it's Dave and Laura, the owners of the lavender farm out in Boulder. I talk to them all the time still. But yeah, we've gone out to film a couple of videos at their place. They eventually sold their business and they opened a lavender farm, which is pretty cool. I made it through that tough spot. I was able to hire some people. We have an awesome crew now. Emmett and I are...
My hands are frozen.
It's cold in here, huh? We can turn the heat back on. Sam likes it at 50 degrees, Sam, our warehouse manager. But I'm gonna let you guys suffer, because guess who keeps telling us to turn the heat down at the office? You guys.
Actually, it's not that bad. My hands, I just can't feel my fingers.
So Emmett and I have been running this business I started it, but we run it together now. And we actually met in college. If you would have asked me in college if I'd ever hire Emmett for something, I would say, no, definitely not. And especially if it was like something having to do with alcohol, I would say, oh, no way.
Yeah, that's a good call. I just remember when you hired me, you said this is either going to be the best decision I've ever made or the worst decision I've ever made. And I was like, yeah, it could go either way.
It's worked out. It's worked out. So Emmett and I were friends in college. We're drinking buddies. We mountain bike together. We also brewed beer in college independently. We never did that together, oddly enough. I hired him to help me. This is after college. I hired him to help me run the distillation equipment company. At one point or another, we started brewing beer again together. And we're like, you know what, we should probably sell brewing equipment because this is something that we both really enjoy. It's a lot of fun as well, and it just seemed like a natural fit with the distillation work that we were doing. So Emmett actually designed our 10.5 gallon brew system, and we've been refining it over, I don't know, like almost a decade now. At this point, it's like super dialed. It's a really awesome brew system for anyone who wants to make their own beer at home. We aren't in Colorado anymore. The warehouse is in Tennessee now. And our warehouse manager here is Sam. Sam is absolutely killing it. He takes care of all of the day-to-day shipping, a lot of the shipping and order related questions, and from time to time, some brewing questions as well. He keeps the trains running on time, and he's doing a great job. And we have Blake in the warehouse as well. Blake handles manufacturing. He's packing orders, doing all kinds of good stuff. And in the office, which is actually in North Carolina, we have Libby, our video editor. If you've seen anything on our YouTube or your Instagram or TikTok in the last probably year, there's a very good chance that Libby filmed and edited that content. It's been difficult at times. It's been really difficult. But I will say though that one of the things that's made things easier is that our customer base is awesome. They're amazing. I think maybe people are just nicer than you think they are, first of all, but also we don't really do ads. We just make YouTube videos and Instagram and Facebook posts and stuff like that. So I think a lot of people actually see us and they know us, they see us in our videos before they buy stuff from us. You're not buying stuff from a stranger at that point. So then, I feel like there's a relationship there. And so if something goes wrong with an order or something, you wouldn't call somebody, and most people wouldn't call somebody and be a dick to somebody that they know and that they like. And so that's kind of how our customer base is. Anyone who ever calls us with an issue, and unfortunately we do our best, but sometimes there are issues, 99.9% of the people who ever call us about something are just awesome. They're really cool. So thanks you guys for being cool. You really are. It makes a difference.
I love you.
I love you.